Good morning. Well, it's been several weeks since I've walked up to St Mary's the Virgin Churchyard at Upper Swainswick to deliver a vlog, a video log. I'm equipped today with a radio mic, which makes it easier for me. But the stand that the phone sits in isn't quite high enough for me to get any closer to you without chopping off the top of my head. So this will have to do until I think of probably a better location for the camera to lift it up a bit. It's not a bad morning. It's a bit cloudy, but it's very calm and it's still very warm. So I hope you're looking forward to a full week. The kids are going back to school today, which means my husband is back doing his teaching job. And I thought I would talk to you about one of the things I saw which took my interest in the FT magazine over the weekend, the Financial Times. Its resident architect was talking about the future of the high street and the way that the department stores that are closing everywhere could be reused. And one thing that took my interest was him saying that it was a golden opportunity for bringing culture into the high street, and that there were empty shops that could readily be turned into art galleries or museums. Now that's quite relevant for Bath because the Fashion Museum, one of the top museums in the world, is looking for a new home. The National Trust, who are its landlords up at the Assembly Rooms, want to use the building in a different way. So the Fashion Museum has been given notice to quit. So where can it go? Well, it has an extensive collection, and it's very much a sort of iceberg situation where what you see on display is a very small proportion of what is stored away. So it has a double problem because it has to find storage space and display space, and it may mean that the two things are separated. I think there are talks underway between Bath Spa University and Baines about ways in which the collection could be stored, which would benefit both parties, because of course Bath Spa University runs textile courses, and being able to research material to have accessibility would be beneficial for its students. And in the meantime, I know the council has been sniffing around Milsom Street. There is a desire to start splitting the city into quarters, which is not a bad idea. I mean, Walcott Street has had one for years. It's the artisan quarter. I've been arguing also for years that all those little lanes like Northumberland Place that leads off the high street should be called the Bath Lanes, to add interest and to encourage footfall. Well, Milsom Quarter, hey, the Milsom Street Quarter. So we have some empty shops up there. Baby Gap is being well used as exhibition space at the moment by students at Bath Spa. And at the bottom of Milsom Street, the town end, there is a large former Gap store, which, to my way of thinking, would make an excellent location for the Fashion Museum. And I hope all the councillors on Baines will take an interest in this, in the way in which the town centre can be reinvigorated. Which leads me on to the fact that there is a committee considering a report on how well the clean air zone regulations have been going since it was introduced. Well, very few vehicles are actually being affected by it, really, in terms of charging. The ordinary motorist, the ordinary car, is exempt. The town centre has to change, and the whole idea of pedestrianised areas is a good one. It is a good one. It doesn't shut shops, it encourages footfall. It makes the place more pleasant. And despite all the "oh" that you get when it's proposed, once it's been in operation for a while, it operates very well. And you've got to do this almost by stealth. You've got to do a little bit at a time. You've got to sort of crawl forward an inch at a time. Because if you jump a mile and suddenly do everything, oh, the city of Bath goes berserk. I think that a congestion charge was the fairer way of doing this personally, like they have in the centre of London, that everybody has to pay if they want to cross the city in a car, in a vehicle. And it should be based on engine size. So those who drive around in their big four-wheel drive cars have to pay for the privilege, and why shouldn't they? That's my way of thinking. Something else that concerns me, a leaflet was pushed through my door. I don't know whether everybody in my street got one, from an organisation calling themselves the Friends of the Mineral Water Hospital. And it's encouraging everybody to write to the council to try and stop these greedy, I quote, developers, the Fragrance Group, from turning it into yet another luxury hotel. This is a group of people that seem to use every excuse to try and stop this development. Planning was already refused by the size of the extension and the fact that it was denying neighbours light. That's been modified. Now they're having a go because this little island of, this little ecological island of wildlife is going to be destroyed. A little garden that was created for patients at the Min. Now, I don't want to see that go either. I think every green space in the city is valuable. But let's get things in perspective here. The Min is, I think, Grade 2 star listed, but it's only the facade. The actual interior has completely changed since the days that John Wood first designed one half of it, because the Victorians extended it, of course. The interior is completely changed. So the only original bits are the facade and the Roman mosaic in the basement. And these friends of the Min were also complaining that people would be denied access to this archaeological site. Well, I have to say I've lived in the city for 10 years and I haven't exactly seen a queue out the door. Very few people know the mosaic is there. And the Fragrance Group have said they will continue to allow access at certain times during the year. Now, it's a big building and it's a big operation to take on, but buildings have to be fit for purpose. You know, the RUH sold it because it was no longer fit for purpose. They built a new mineral water hospital block up at their main hospital site. Then you have to find somebody to take over this building to save it. Otherwise, it just crumbles away or is demolished and replaced with something else. And there are very few people that have the money to be able to save buildings the size of the Min. And this business about the Fragrance Group being greedy, I don't see how you can use that word. It's up to them whether or not they build a hotel in Bath. If they think there is room in the market, then that is a business risk that they take, and that is their own business. And who else is going to take over the Min? It's all very well saying, oh yes, that would have made a fantastic home for the fashion museum, but Baines hasn't got any money. It hasn't got any money. It can't develop it in that way. And what else are you going to do with it? All right, turn it into luxury flats. That doesn't help all the people who are trying to get a foot on the property ladder, does it? So I can see arguments from either side, but I do get irritated because in the end it just seems to me as you're looking for any excuse you can to just stop something happening. And it's really up to that commercial organisation as to whether or not it takes a commercial risk. It's their money and not ours. And if it saves the building, and because the facade is listed, it cannot be changed, it can't be a bad thing. But this whole issue about islands of nature, of little green patches within the city, should get us all thinking about ways in which we can green the city of Bath. I think the trees should be put back on Great Pulteney Street for a start. And there are many, many other areas within the city where trees and shrubs could be planted. And maybe you should all look to your own back garden and think, you know, where there is a paving slab, could I not put a plant? It's up to all of us to stand up for nature, and there's no reason that nature can't live in the city. It's really good to know that Baines are creating this river corridor right through the city. That will benefit nature as well. And I'll be very interested in any other ideas people have for increasing environmental, increasing wildlife and making more room for nature within Bath.